In the shadow of history, where kingdoms rose and fell, there was once a land of warriors who defied an empire. This is the untold story of the Frisian-Frankish Wars, a struggle for freedom, for survival, for the very soul of a people. Step into the past and witness the clash of swords, the cries of the fallen, and the unbreakable spirit of those who refused to bow. Welcome to Mythic Hidden Chronicles, where lost history comes alive. In the early 8th century, the lowlands of what is now the Netherlands were a patchwork of tribes and small kingdoms. Among them, the Frisians held sway over the coastal regions, their influence stretching from the Scheldt River in the south to the Weser River in the north. They were seafarers, traders, and fierce defenders of their independence. To the south, the Frankish Empire was expanding under the leadership of powerful rulers like Pepin of Herstal and his son, Charles Martel. Our story begins in the year 716 AD, in the bustling trading town of Dorestad, located along the Rhine River. Dorestad was a melting pot of cultures, where merchants from distant lands converged to trade goods ranging from furs and amber to wine and weapons. The town's prosperity made it a coveted prize for any ambitious ruler. In a modest dwelling near the riverbank lived a young blacksmith named Einar. Tall and broad-shouldered, with hair the color of wheat and eyes as blue as the North Sea, Einar was known for his skill in crafting swords and tools. His father had been a warrior who fell in battle against the Franks, leaving Einar to care for his ailing mother and younger sister, Freya. One crisp morning, as the first light of dawn painted the sky in hues of pink and gold, Einar was at his forge, the rhythmic clang of hammer on anvil echoing through the air. He was working on a commission for a local chieftain, a sword that needed to be both deadly and beautiful. As he worked, a shadow fell across his workspace. Looking up, Einar saw a group of warriors approaching, their leader a tall man with a commanding presence. His armor gleamed, and a richly adorned helmet sat atop his head. "Einar, son of Eric?" the leader inquired. "Aye, that's me," Einar replied, wiping sweat from his brow. "I am Harold, a messenger of King Radbod. The king has heard of your skill and requests your presence in Utrecht." Einar's heart skipped a beat. King Radbod was the ruler of the Frisians, a man both revered and feared. An invitation to his court was an honor, but also a summons that could not be refused. "When does the king wish to see me?" Einar asked. "Immediately. We leave within the hour," Harold replied. Einar nodded, quickly gathering his tools and informing his mother and sister of his departure. He promised to return soon and set off with Harold and his men toward Utrecht. The journey took several days, the group traveling along winding rivers and through dense forests. Along the way, Harold spoke of the growing tensions between the Frisians and the Franks. The Franks, under their leader Charles Martel, sought to expand their territory northward, encroaching on Frisian lands and threatening their way of life. Upon arriving in Utrecht, Einar was ushered into the king's hall, a grand structure adorned with tapestries depicting battles and legends of old. King Radbod sat upon a wooden throne, his presence imposing. He was a man of advanced years, with a long grey beard and eyes that gleamed with intelligence. "Einar, son of Eric," the king began, "I have heard of your prowess as a blacksmith. Our people stand on the brink of war, and we need weapons, swords, spears, axes. I ask that you lend your skill to our cause." Honored by the request, Einar agreed. He was provided with a forge and materials and set to work crafting weapons for the Frisian warriors. Days turned into weeks as he labored tirelessly, the threat of Frankish invasion looming ever closer. One evening, as Einar was finishing a particularly fine sword, a young woman entered the forge. She was slender, with raven black hair and striking green eyes. She introduced herself as Ingrid, the daughter of one of Radbod's chieftains. "My father speaks highly of your work," she said, her voice melodic. He believes your weapons will turn the tide in our favor. Einar smiled modestly. I am but a humble blacksmith, doing my part for our people. Over the following weeks, Ingrid visited the forge often, bringing food and engaging in conversation. A bond formed between them, blossoming into a deep affection. As tensions escalated, news arrived that Charles Martel was amassing a formidable army, intent on subjugating the Frisians. King Radbod called upon all able-bodied men to prepare for battle. Einar, though primarily a blacksmith, chose to take up arms alongside his fellow Frisians. The two armies met near the village of Amel in 716 AD. The Frisians, though fierce and determined, were outnumbered and less organized than the Frankish forces. The battle was brutal, with the clash of swords and the cries of the wounded filling the air. Einar fought valiantly, his self-forged sword cutting through the enemy ranks. But as the day wore on, the Frisians began to falter under the relentless Frankish assault. Seeing his comrades fall around him, Einar's heart ached, but he pressed on, driven by a desire to protect his homeland and loved ones. In the chaos, Einar found himself face to face with a Frankish warrior, a giant of a man with a scarred face. They clashed fiercely, their swords ringing with each blow. The Frank managed to land a deep cut on Einar's arm, causing him to drop his shield. Summoning his remaining strength, Einar delivered a fatal blow to his opponent, but the exertion left him weakened. As the sun set, it became clear that the Frisians were overwhelmed. King Radbod ordered a retreat, and the surviving warriors fled into the surrounding forests. Einar, bleeding and exhausted, managed to escape the battlefield, making his way back to Utrecht under the cover of darkness. Upon his return, he was greeted by Ingrid, who tended to his wounds and offered words of comfort. The defeat weighed heavily on the Frisian people, but their spirit remained unbroken. In the following years, the conflict between the Frisians and the Franks continued. King Radbod resisted conversion to Christianity, viewing it as a tool of Frankish domination. However, after his death in 719 AD, the Frisians faced increasing pressure from the Franks. Charles Martel launched a series of campaigns to subdue the Frisians, culminating in the decisive Battle of the Bourne in 734 AD. The Frisians, led by a chieftain named Poppo, made a final stand along the river Bourne. Despite their bravery, they were defeated, and Poppo was slain in battle. The fall of the Frisian kingdom marked the end of their independence. The Franks imposed their rule, and the process of Christianization intensified. The once proud seafaring people were now subjects of the expanding Frankish Empire. Einar, having survived the wars, returned to Dorestad. The town had changed, now under Frankish control, but life went on. He reopened his forge, crafting tools and weapons, his hands bearing the scars of battles fought and lost. Ingrid stood by his side, her love unwavering even as the world around them shifted. They married in a quiet ceremony by the river, beneath the same sky that had once watched over the battles of their youth. Though the Frisians had lost their independence, their spirit endured in the hearts of those who refused to forget. Einar never ceased to tell the stories of his people, their courage, their defiance, and the cost of war. And though he had once wielded a sword in battle, he came to realize that his greatest weapon was not steel, but memory. As long as their tales were told, the Frisians would never truly vanish. The echoes of war may fade, but the stories remain. The Frisians fought not just for their land, but for their way of life against an empire too vast to resist forever. What can we learn from their defiance? What remains of their legacy today? If you found this journey into the past compelling, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Mythic Hidden Chronicles. More forgotten battles, untold legends, and lost civilizations await. Until next time.